You've just generated this gorgeous cinematic AI video. It looks completely flawless for exactly 5 seconds.
Right.
But then your main character leans on a washing machine. The camera drifts just a fraction of an inch. Suddenly, the machine morphs into something totally unrecognizable.
Yeah, it completely shatters the illusion.
It really does.
Yeah.
Beat. Welcome to this deep dive. We're exploring a truly fascinating guide for you today. Our mission is to dissect exactly how to build consistent cinematic AI video. We'll be using Seedance 2.5 and Claude Skills.
And we have to, completely shift our creative mindset here. We need to move away from hoping for some magic prompt. It's all about adopting a highly disciplined film director mindset.
Because before we can direct a masterpiece, we need a testing ground. We need something that brutally exposes the AI's weaknesses. We really have to start slow.
That's a crucial point to understand right away. The guide introduces a very specific demo project for this. It's called Control Wash. It isn't some heavy action scene with massive explosions. There are absolutely no wild card chases happening here. It's just a simple, incredibly slow scene inside a laundromat.
I love how straightforward the plot actually is. Picture this. A character named Tay is totally exhausted doing his laundry late at night.
Right.
Suddenly, a person in a full gorilla suit wanders in. They're casually carrying a large laundry basket. Tay looks confused, then notices something very specific. He sees a discarded AI sloppy bar chocolate wrapper.
It sounds almost too simple, like why use this for technical testing? But this kind of scene actually matters deeply. Slow scenes expose generative problems incredibly fast.
Why do slow scenes break the illusion so easily?
Well, because AI video models don't actually understand what a washing machine is. They don't have a 3D engine running inside their neural network. They're literally just guessing based on flat pixel patterns.
Wow.
Yeah, so if Tay moves to a completely different washer, you notice. If the camera angle changes slightly, it just feels fake.
Our brains are just highly tuned to spatial consistency. We want every single clip to feel perfectly grounded, like it was actually filmed in the same physical room.
Exactly. And many people try using a start frame image for every single shot. They think it keeps the visual consistency perfectly intact. But doing that just makes the final video look far too plastic. The actual goal is something organic, messy, and real.
It's exactly like stacking Lego blocks of data. If your foundational base plate is wobbly or artificial, nothing works. The whole visual tower eventually falls apart. Beat. So, do slow scenes actually stress test the AI's spatial memory harder than fast, chaotic action?
Yes, because the human eye has time to linger on the geometry. In a fast action scene, motion blur hides a lot of generative mistakes. In a slow scene, the model has to continuously prove it understands the physical room.
Right. Less motion means those visual mistakes just can't hide. Beat. So if we aren't relying on rigid start frames to keep the scene stable, what do we do? How do we actually build that sturdy Lego base plate?
We have to program the AI's brain before we ask for a video. And this brings us directly to the pre-production workflow. You don't just ask Seedance for a random video prompt. You must meticulously build the world first. You start by loading specific Claude skills into your workflow.
And for those newer to this, a Claude skill is like a custom instruction set. It turns a general chatbot into a highly specialized planner.
Precisely. The guide recommends 3 specific directing tools for this. You load Banana Pro Director, Cinema Director V3, and Character Builder. These skills give Claude a highly structured, rigid directing system.
So it stops it from just generating pretty meaningless text. Instead, we use this to create a scene plate. Can you define what a scene plate is for us?
The foundational background image before characters are added.
Perfect. So we build the empty location before anyone shows up. Let's look closely at the control wash scene plate.
So it uses a 3/4 camera angle for a very specific reason. This angle makes the room feel easy to reuse across different shots. It gives you depth without locking you into a flat wall.
Right, and it features running washers, which adds subtle background life. There's a mirrored neon sign for strong visual identity. Plus, the night lighting creates a really moody, cinematic atmosphere.
The tool choice here is also very deliberate. You should use Seedream 5.0 Pro for these scene plates.
Why that specific tool instead of another generator?
Because it adds beautiful, organic, visual imperfections to the image. You get slightly overexposed lights and a film-like grain glow. It makes the digital image feel like an actual camera lens captured it.
But for the character faces, you switch tools entirely. You use Nano Banana Pro specifically for the human faces, because
Yeah.
human faces require much stricter visual consistency than background neon signs.
Right, because our brains are hardwired to notice facial inconsistencies immediately. Better input always gives you much better output. And this leads to a very specific, disciplined prompting strategy. You build your character consistency sheets using a tool like Higgsfield.
So Higgsfield acts sort of like a digital casting agency for your AI.
Yeah, exactly. You get consistent character turnarounds to use as references. You screenshot those elements and feed them directly to Claude. And this is where the prompt structure becomes absolutely vital. You put the most crucial information at the very top.
Like what kind of information?
You explicitly list the shot count and total duration right away. You even explicitly state no music whatsoever at the beginning.
Why does the gorilla costume matter so much in the prompt? The guide specifically calls out phrasing it as a person wearing a gorilla costume.
Right, and that stops it from animating a real animal. If you just say gorilla, the AI animates a quadruped walking like an ape. If you say person wearing a costume, it forces the AI to animate a human walking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it completely changes the physical gait of the character.
You also always start the prompt mid-action, right? So the washer should already be moving when the video frame begins. 2-sec silence. I'll be honest with you, I still wrestle with prompt drift myself whenever I get impatient. I always try to skip this world-building phase.
Incredibly common, yeah.
It's just so tempting to rush it and hit generate. Does putting instructions like shot count at the very top of the prompt actually change the technical output?
Absolutely. Video models weigh the first few tokens much more heavily than the end of a paragraph. It's a fundamental quirk of their architectural attention mechanism.
Makes sense. The AI prioritizes the very first instructions it reads. Beat. Now we have the perfect mid-action first 5 seconds. But how do we keep the scene from completely hallucinating in second 6?
This is where video consistency becomes the primary daily challenge. Seedance 2.5 has a fascinating feature specifically designed for this. It's called the Extend Video feature, and it's a massive game changer.
You can upload your generated clips up to 30 seconds long, right?
Yes, and the model actively reads the character placement and visual appearance. It analyzes the camera angle and the physical room layout. Then, it attempts to generate what logically happens next. There are 2 distinct, powerful modes for this specific workflow. The sequel mode creates what happens logically after the clip.
And the prequel mode creates what theoretically happened before the clip. This allows Tay to stay leaning casually on the same washer. He holds the exact same physical position from the previous shot. The laundromat layout remains perfectly intact all around him.
But you definitely don't just hit a button and hope for the best. There's a meticulous, almost grueling frame-by-frame workflow involved here. You drag the current video clip into Claude first. You ask Claude to analyze the 2D scene deeply.
You meticulously track character position and specific hand placement. You check the camera angle and the distant background layout.
Exactly. Then you ask Claude to write a highly specific continuation prompt. After that, you paste that new prompt back into Higgsfield. The crucial takeaway here is always about absolute control. You must explicitly tell the AI what must stay locked.
You actively lock the eye direction and specific hand position.
Yeah.
You lock the background objects and the global room lighting. You don't just lazily describe what happens next in the story. You have to tell it what doesn't change.
Yes, that's the secret.
2-sec silence. Whoa. Imagine the compute power required to have an AI analyze its own previous video frame by frame just to keep a character's hand perfectly locked on a washing machine. That is wild.
It's a staggering amount of processing for sure.
Can the model truly understand 3D space from these 2D frames, or is it just guessing?
It doesn't possess true 3D spatial awareness. It's heavily approximating depth based on pixel patterns and object relationships over time.
So it basically fakes depth by tracking object relationships over time. Tracking those tiny pixel relationships over time requires incredible focus. It takes a massive amount of sustained processing power. And when you're deep into learning complex systems yourself, you need that same level of focus. That's why I rely daily on Clearmind coffee.
Oh, nice.
It's a small batch roast designed for sustained, jitter-free concentration. It genuinely helps me stay locked in when analyzing dense material. Check them out when you need that quiet, steady focus. Beat. Now, let's get back to the deep dive. We really need to give you a reality check on resources now. AI video generation is incredibly fun and creatively freeing, but it can get very expensive very fast if you aren't careful.
The simple control wash project is a perfect example of this. Producing that short scene cost around 800 credits on Seedance 2.5.
800 credits just for a guy in a laundromat.
Yeah, that's exactly why writing better AI video prompts matters so much. The guide heavily advises using unlimited generation promos when starting out. They're definitely slower, taking one generation at a time, but it saves your valuable credits while you actually learn the system.
The ultimate goal of this meticulous workflow is pure efficiency. You want to fundamentally reduce your wasted, expensive credits.
Right. You rigorously plan the shot first, and only then do you generate. And this exact same workflow applies to highly active shots too. Think about extreme sand snowboarding or a massive dragon lifting off. But active shots require incredibly strict physics direction from you.
Because the AI doesn't inherently understand how gravity actually works.
Exactly. You have to explicitly define the physical weight and gravity in the prompt. You must describe how the dust settles and how the camera tracks it. You have to control the implied speed and the character's body balance.
You also have to fundamentally reframe your view of failures. A failed generation isn't entirely useless to your project. Maybe a video clip has an absolutely terrible, glitchy ending, but it might have a truly great, flawless first 3 seconds.
Yeah, you intentionally save those perfect first 3 seconds. Real filming on a physical set requires multiple takes and careful editing. You build the final cinematic scene slowly from the best captured moments.
It's exactly like stacking well, actually, it's more like panning for gold. You don't keep the whole river, you just edit together the tiny nuggets.
Yeah.
Beat. Does having access to an unlimited generation promo actually encourage lazy spray and pray prompting?
Yes. People tend to stop planning their shots and just hit generate, hoping for a lucky accident, which ultimately wastes time.
Yeah. Infinite tries can actually kill your creative discipline. Which brings us smoothly to the ultimate philosophy of this entire deep dive.
We really need to synthesize this entire workflow for you. Cinematic AI video requires fully abandoning a major creative myth. You must abandon the idea of prompts as magic words.
You aren't just generating random beautiful footage anymore.
No, you're actively building a sturdy, reusable scene plate first. You're rigorously enforcing strict physical rules on a blind model. You're actively managing credits and meticulously salvaging the best takes.
The AI can successfully build the technical pixel-perfect shot, but your human brain still has to direct the actual movie. You have to bring your own tastes and editorial choices to the timeline. If we're already using AI to perfectly lock spatial geometry, if we can simulate a 30-second continuous photorealistic shot of a laundromat based solely on text, what happens to our perception of historical video archives a decade from now? When any given moment can be perfectly synthesized with organic film grain and imperfect lighting, how will we ever definitively prove what was actually filmed and what was just brilliantly directed by someone in their bedroom? Beat? Keep questioning everything, keep exploring the tools, and always stay curious.